Good morning, folks. So, I wanted to do a live because I immediately woke up and had just something to share based off of a lot of dialogue yesterday and what I value about myself is I have the courage to actually put my face and my voice behind my words. I look at other people who challenge me, and it's healthy to challenge me. And I look at people who they stand behind science and facts, and they rather depend on the professionals with degrees and the credentials, but then they don't show their face. They don't stand behind their words. And I always say like it's kind of fascinating how 2020, let's say 2020 vision, right? It's been a year where like in a metaphor, 2020 is supposed to be about focus. It's supposed to be about but being about looking at the truth versus understanding what is correct. Like if something's correct in your focal point, it doesn't mean that that's the truth. And a lot of times we have to divorce what we feel is the right thing according to us. And we have to sometimes accept the truth. Ooh, my boobie is popping out. And I think like this is why I value people in the health industry, in mental health, psychiatric industries as well, because they sit and they may have their own opinion in their head and they're going, ooh, this person is jacked up. But what comes out of their mouth is something on a very balanced level, something that's acknowledging of the person's character, and they're giving solutions to help that person move forward. So the, that's just kind of where I wanted to elaborate is when people talk about conspiracies, I have a whole array, if that's the word, of people that I talk to in like let's say I have a friend in Florida, Germany, Peru, India, Malaysia, Singapore, Greenland, Alaska. Hey, Hawaii. And basically like what what serves my automatic distorted thinking is that they're all messaging me at different times between, before I go to bed. And because nighttime here is morning time in other places. So in Australia, hi, Christina. And so like people send me information from where they live, and the information's just information, it's data. And it's really not about exaggerating the data and mocking the data. I think what used to be conspiracy theories were called urban legends and hoaxes. And then there's people like TMZ or Wendy Williams, people who they gossip about, what is that called? Tabloids. And so when we're conditioned to all that junk and all that gobbledygook, as our English teachers used to say, I think it kind of dilutes the main purpose of receiving information. It's really sad how, like, I can go on YouTube and I can talk about UFO activity. And there's a whole pocket of people that are like, oh my gosh, me too. But then for some odd reason, if I go to Instagram, for instance, people won't see it because it doesn't resonate with that group of people. And then if you go to Facebook, hello Facebook, it comes with there's like a volume of negativity, and then in the middle of that negativity is like a guiding light, something that says, okay, I was looking for this information, or thank you for opening your mouth, because people are constantly looking to tear down something before looking into the information, the truth. I need water. It's very odd because I'm going to put someone on blast that I know, and I love them very much, but I know a lot of people in education, geography, social, what is it? Social studies, science, ecology, anthropology, and all of that is what? It's physical science and it's metaphysical. Metaphysics is all in it's a theoretical, it's hypothesis, and that's still science. So my thought process is, why would you involve yourself with a portion of what resonates with you? Why would you? And it's like a respectful question. Why would you involve yourself in something that you know can expand its own conscious, response? Why would you involve yourself with something knowing that there's a rabbit hole? So if you're an archaeologist, for example, an archaeologist knows that there has to be something more to dinosaurs, right? There's a whole dialogue about draconian races and draconians, not from Star Trek people, but see, and that's the problem too. You have TV shows that they take things that are possible and potential, and they elaborate it in what is it? Fictional characters, and then it's diluted, so that way when it comes up later in life that this is the truth, you don't believe it because you've been filtered and you've been, well, not you, but some people. There's a lot of people that I turn my head and I go, oh, bye, Joanne. I would love to do Nicole's Zumba class, but you know what? Maybe I'll do her Zumba class because she watched my watch party yesterday. I'm proud of Nicole, but I twisted my ankle, so I don't know. Have a good day, Joanne. I'm still recovering from my ankle twist on Saturday. That was not cute. Hey, Arnell and Greg. Yeah, if you guys didn't know, on Saturday, I fell and twisted my ankle. Yes. I saw a coyote. My Uber dropped me off in front of. It's a funny story, but would you look at that? Ew. So I'm just trying to relax and recover, but I always believe you work through your injuries. So, no, yeah, my Uber dropped me off, and I took 3 steps out of the car, and there was a coyote. Literally, was like, "What's up, dog?" And I just, and I rolled down the hill. All right, so back to topic. We're talking about conspiracy theories, and I really would like who people who are on the other side who say, I don't believe those things. I don't want to, I unsubscribe from going that far because, yeah, you have to have some boundaries because going into rabbit holes and navigating into topics that you cannot resolve can offset your mental performance in terms of choosing your audience, in terms of having a healthy dialogue in front of people. And I'll be quite honest, I'll post things and I remove them because, I don't want people to look at the inconsistency of my timeline and use that and say this guy should go to a mental hospital. It sucks that like people have to protect themselves on social media because things stay out there for a long time. And there's algorithms that that cater to what you say and what you post. Like, for instance, I was on YouTube yesterday and something was recommended that I had never searched on YouTube. But I guess because my phone, I type in a lot of different things to research, the algorithm is feeding YouTube, and it's giving suggestions on what to watch. Hulu is suggesting I watch a lot of devil worship movies. So, for example, yesterday about conspiracy theories, what changed my mind 5 years ago, it was June 15th, 2015. I saw something that I could not register. It was like it threw my brain off. And I just kept staring at it like it's not a helicopter. Everyone who I shared the video with discreetly at that time, because I was scared of, as conspiracy theorists say, the men in black, or the people who grab you and say, don't talk about that. That's what I was scared of. I was scared of people coming for me to tell me, like, to silence me. I was scared. And years later, found out that ain't true. But it was something very uncomfortable, but kind of cool at the same time. But my mind was trying to figure out, you know, that it was unidentified, but to actually see it in person for the first time ever, it was like, oh my goodness. For people who are like in a metaphysical or spiritual journey, even religious, these things that are talked about in biblical texts, or the emerald tablets, or Egyptian hieroglyphs, we have evidence of something abnormal, something supernormal. And why isn't it okay that we can elaborate on that in 2020? So when I'm going there, the doctor, who, I don't want y'all disappearing on me, Mr. T, I always say Mr. T because when I say TRUMP, people just lose their mind. But Mr. T, he acknowledged his doctor, and I was shocked that okay, it's a black woman, she knows a lot about voodoo and shakalaka, and but people who honor and appreciate Beyonce, it's the same thing. Beyonce has a practice of an Ethiopian goddess named Oshun. And that's where she taps into Sasha Fierce. She goes into the Oshun ritual. So I'm like, this doctor is talking about the same thing, what she understands. So I'm trying to like create a space on my social media, because there's too many people who follow me, and they're too entitled with, excuse my language, oh, that crazy bitch. And it's like, but she's a physician, and she's like, I don't care about what she personally said. I'm just looking at the information of, here is a black woman who is a accredited person who everyone is already throwing under the bus of being crazy because she said something in regard of something unfamiliar to people. And I'm like, I know what she's talking about, because whether you're religious or not, the Bible talked about the Nephilim. The Bible said that the angels in heaven bred with the sons of men. So if the book of Genesis talked about the serpent and Eve, it wasn't technically, you can go there and say, yeah, it was a draconian reptilian that manipulated her mind to have sex with another being. So she cheated on Adam. It was just kind of like an evidential, even if you were to say it was a metaphysical story or it wasn't, there's no proof that it happened. There's still a document of a literature that says that something had occurred when somebody went against their own bloodline, and thus, so you think about, like, did Eve have babies with the serpent? Let's just go there. And if so, there's a bloodline of people. So if you can say genetically engineered human beings or whatnot, you also have a timeline of the Anunnaki. I put this on my watch party yesterday, which I was surprised a lot of people were watching. Granted, it was an anthropologist perspective, and it was the video was kind of creepy, and the visuals were kind of creepy, but it took you on a journey. It was like a ride if you were holding your phone. But I always value, because let's say like, hi Rebecca, my journey is on truth and seeking a greater truth. And if we are walking organisms here on earth, destined to seek a purpose and seek some kind of, I guess, benevolent approach to a very dark environment, I would like to know, is there something more to this? I'm not going to go into another recession and go into depression and eat gluten items and McDonald's until I rot and die and get old and grumpy. That is just not my destiny. So throughout 2020 and throughout my whole last year, I've been sharing and elaborating my vulnerability on these really hard situations that have been attacking me. Yeah, that's a victim statement. But I had a whole flip. Everything I lost, I'm surprised I'm still in my apartment, but I have a higher power, higher faith. Same with COVID-19. Like, we don't know. See, look, here's my deal with that. I honestly think that there's a lot of money manipulated tactics that could influence a theory of a virus or a sickness or a pandemic. We already know that. You know, how many pandemics and epidemics that we've had every 100 years at the same day, at the same time. Every Black Lives Matter movement at the same day, at the same time. And then let's say that I can probably predict 2021. Let's say if Biden wins. If Joe Biden wins, you're going to have a second Me Too movement January, which started, at the Harvey Weinstein moment, what was that, 3 years ago? At the same day, at the same time. It's all narrated. It's a script. We know about movies. We know that actors play different roles. And so it's just, and then let's say if Mr. T gets another 4 years, people are going to lose their shit. Number one. Number two, people are going to have another Me Too movement. It's just the same. It's the same repetition of everything all the time. So going back to the human personal journey, I think everyone has their own personal journey. Some people might just be, look, I just want to share love and light. Excuse me. And I have these like thyroid hiccups. I call it Jesus burps. My grandma gets them. It's like when you are, for me, I describe that as when I'm in my thoughts and I'm sharing my wisdom, there's something that happens between my throat chakra, the higher heart chakra, and the crown. So there's like an energy exchange that gives me these, I call them the Jesus hiccups or Jesus burps. But I always encourage people to say, like, if you don't resonate with conspiracy theories, at least have that respect towards people who are trying to elaborate more on a conscious perspective. Like, our consciousness can always expand when you don't close off a thought. Like, I elaborate on topics and I might dig a hole or I might stir the pot or I may say something that might be like the sulfite thing yesterday. I didn't realize that there was a difference between sulfate and sulfite. I just thought was the same compound. And when a good friend of mine challenged me and said, they're not the same thing, it made me go look it up. And we both actually found out that they're of the same compound, but it was just that one element, not everything else. So those are things that I like to put myself out there, because we don't know everything. And a lot of times someone might know one part of a situation and others might know a second part, but why can't the two integrate? And I think that's just the whole point of why I think conspiracy theories are great, because it allows you to integrate your thought process with mental mindfulness, clarity. Because let's say something you can't explain, and then you see a theoretical situation or article that might be way out there, and it ties into something that you've read, in your history class. I think what allowed me to start to welcome things that are Stranger Things, was I Love Lucy. Because the first couple episodes of I Love Lucy was about, I think the first one was, remember Ethel was the telepath, and she was the seer, the soothsayer, and she was able to channel Ethel to Tilly, come in Tilly. So it opened up a possibility of, is that possible? And then you notice how Lucy was one character and Fred was the other character. So it shows you how, like, everything is narrated and orchestrated. But at the end of the story of I Love Lucy, it brought mental clarity to what's his name? Mr. Beecher? No. They have so many funny names. All of their names of the people are English. Mr. Merriweather. Mr. Merriweather. And then there was the one where, the same episode where they did the cards. And remember, Ricky was a 4. Lucy was she a 3? And Ethel was a 5. And then they called each other by the numbers. It made you go, if you were that kind of person, you were like, I wonder what number am I? You didn't need a deck of cards. You can actually do an addition of your birthday. And when you add up all your numbers of your birthday, let's say it's 113, for example, January 1st, 3. You add all the numbers, and that'll be a 5. That's your soul number. Now you're going into numerology. And numerology and astronomy and, astronomy, astrology, numerology, it's all science-based. It's math. It's mathematical. It's alchemical. That's still science. Maybe I'm just adding stuff to a theory, but I think all the ologies, anthropology. I'll tell you guys a quick short story. Also, what divorced me from, because I was that guy in the club. I just want to get my Starbucks in the morning, get over my hangover from dancing in the club, being drunk, and then going to my part-time jobs. I had the very typical basic life. And I had the very basic typical friends too. And I had a very strange personality because of my environment was so filtered and there were so many boundaries. So it only enforced me to behave a certain way. And then, shut up, stomach, we're not eating right now. It only forced me to act and behave a certain way. And then I think it was like I was listening to Beyonce's 7-Eleven song. That was a turning point in my life. And I was like, 7-Eleven, 7-Eleven. And I was saying these numbers out loud. I'm like, I wonder what 7-Eleven really means. And then the store, 7-Eleven. And then I looked up something on YouTube. What does 7-Eleven mean? And it brought me to astrotheology. And I was like, whoa, I didn't even know there was such thing as astrotheology. What the hell is astrotheology? Right? And it really it went in deep. Like, if you thought you were a Christian before you knew what is it? What did I say? Astrotheology? I totally was like, I'm not that Christian. I thought I was that Christian. I'm like, oh Jesus. A- Astrotheology was sort of like, I was an egg, and when you crack an egg and the yolk comes out, that was me after I studied. And I didn't study it because I wanted to believe it. I just want to understand. And understanding astrotheology, I was like, dude, there's a whole like shakalaka to this. So I even see like a lot of the musicians. Like I was watching Ariana Grande's Sweetener tour, which is on my timeline. She was getting it too. She was like, bah, bah. I don't know if you guys knew it. Ariana Grande can dance. But there was a lot of references in the background of her performance. And I'm just like, I was like, that bitch knows about astrotheology. So I was just like, it's cool how a lot of things go full circle when you just study it and you understand the method. Kind of like how to drive. You may not need a car, but you still learn how to drive. Same operations when it comes to history. I have such an infatuation with history and not just history of like the last 500 years in America, because you see how that's working right now. So if everyone's tearing down monuments and trying to regress history, if there's no longer any sign or trace of American history of the last, let's say, 200 years, because everyone's so mad at white people, not me, but people, uh, what do we have? You have to go further back. So I think the whole storyline of Western culture and the Sumerian text, Anunnaki, as some people like to call it, Nephilim of the Bible, had a lot to do with the Anunnaki. They could be the same. Who knows? Every culture has its own explanation of what was witnessed or what was shared. And I just like to keep it at that. And I elaborate on that because Sumerian culture in the Western civilization, Mesopotamia, that has 6,000 years of actual carvings and walls. And, if you guys look it up, it's there. And you look at biblical context, which is only 2,000 years of literacy. 2,000 years and the 6,000. So there's obviously there's a gap missing. And that's where I think conspiracy theories like to acknowledge. Like I like to challenge wanting to know what happened. I like to challenge, why is there 4,000 years missing? And how did the Egyptians get influenced? Who influenced them? What made them where? So I go into different theories. Like, for instance, I'll share a theory that I have. The the armor and the wardrobe the Egyptians wore, it wasn't for fancy design and it wasn't to be cool. I think at the time, if you go back, let's just make it up, 3,000, 4,000 years ago, 1,000, whatever. If you go back, the sun was probably much closer to the earth. It's a theory, but scientifically, if the sun were closer to earth, you would have darker skin, you would be more melanated, right? Your pineal gland, this is in science, your pineal gland will have more secretion. And this is how Kundalini Yoga was discovered, because you have pineal gland, which is behind your forehead. Secretion is going down your vertebrae. If you cut open someone's back, you will see that there's fluid in their back, and you will see that there are veins that come out of. They call this the interesting the crown of thorn nerves, and that the nervous system that surrounds the brain has a ties to the cerebral cortex. So, if you're looking at how these Egyptian head structures were, it probably was to protect the melanin from being fried, or it was to help incubate their pineal glands to produce more melanin. So those are all theories. But if it's a conspiracy, why can't that just go into the department of, this is helping me expand on a possible conscious reality. This is helping me expand. And then when you do that, you start to have a more balanced perspective of normal things in life. Like when it comes to people judging a president or being very critical, it's like that is the least of our worries right now. What if there's an alien invasion? They talk about this binary star system. A lot of people call it Nibiru. I don't know. It could be Jupiter. I don't know. But NASA sometimes releases some things, and when NASA releases it, then they're trying to say, oh shit, like we can't explain this. We can't explain away from this, so we have to tell the truth, in my opinion. So I pay attention to a lot of things. NASA just told us recently there's a 7-planet system nearby, or whatever that is. So allegedly, this star system I'm talking about has a rotation period of 2,000 years. You think about biblical text when it talked about during the resurrection time of Jesus, there was an eclipse, and all this stuff happened, right? So if you don't have to be religious to understand that whoever wrote it witnessed something, or whoever theorized it made it up because maybe it was a possible projection of something they may thought would happen in the future. But you have to look at the full perspective. You see how I'm going with this? So some people, they selectively choose, oh, I don't believe that. But in order to understand how someone would believe that, you have to do a whole life cycle. And the life cycle means 7 years. It takes 7 years to fully, completely integrate with things that were not, it's in science. I don't know why 7 years. I don't know. But we do these 7-year cycles, 3 major traumas type of thing. This is what I read a lot. Going back to the 7-Eleven thing, because I totally forgot to say this. Beyonce has a song 7-Eleven, and there's a store called 7-Eleven. And now if you look up, if you just Google search Jesus 7-Eleven, you will see a whole bunch of stuff. And yeah, it could be a conspiracy theory. Yeah, it could be a rabbit hole. But I think people who are more in tune with their soul, more in tune with being an assistance to somebody, a lot of people will sit in front of the camera and they will share something to help someone else expand and elaborate on their spiritual growth or their inner self or their mindfulness. There's so many different levels of it, and you can choose which one is best for your mental health and is best for your, sanity. You have to be sane. My grandmother always says, if grandma shared everything that she knows, she didn't say think, she says what she knows, everybody would think grandma is crazy. I have a little bit more courage to say, grandma, I'm going to take what you said, I'm going to look for it on my own, and I'm going to share what I saw. Because I think what's happening now is people are too afraid to share something crazy. But what I realize on the YouTube platform is they accept crazy talk. as long as it's not political and it's non-factual, you can get away with it on YouTube. And it's kind of sad how, like, if you share and elaborate on something that is factual, there's a whole group of people, and I think it has a lot to do with whistleblowers and that department. Is like it sometimes has to. It depends on the system and when they are ready to invite information. That's how I understand it. So when I look at how this doctor and her theory on alien DNA, uh, I look at, okay, now they're trying to slowly tell us that we are not alone. They're gonna, y'all, I'm just telling you that you're gonna see some things in the next like 4 or 5 months. And if you're not comfortable with even this conversation, this live stream, it's gonna be very hard to understand how to register what will happen. I know it's going to happen because I've been documenting and recording things on my own, and I've been seeing things on my own, and my YouTube channel is definitely like the evidence. And stop it, stomach! It's not time to eat. Stop that! You shut up. I've been doing my own. I enjoy my days. I pick my days to go to the beach, pick my days to practice my artwork. But then there's some days I'm like, look, yo, I'm going to do some UFO searching, right? And I'll pan the sky and shut up, stomach. It ain't time to eat yet. Stop it. I'll pan the sky, and usually one time out of the whole month, I'll catch something. And I just keep a little file of it on my own. I journal these things. I do not tell my therapist this stuff because they'll be like, cuckoo. But I think everybody should invite themselves to accommodate that other people do understand these things might be possible. And I think it also helps to, like, let's say if we do go back to work, or if you are a leader or a supervisor, manager, or an educator, when you invite these things that are foreign and not normal in your mindset, at least you know how to accommodate somebody else who may not know how to deal with them. Someone might go to you with a question and you can't shoot them down. Let's say if you're a school teacher, for example, one of your students asks you something, if we talk about, let's just go there. We talk about transgender rights. We talk about women's rights. We talk about pro-life, pro-choice. We talk about Botox, plastic surgery, all your sexual identities, your gender identities that you can choose. You can be male who looks like a female. You can be female who looks like a male. But why is it not appropriate to say DNA can be genetically altered? Or why can't there be a acceptance of history shows that there are stories of things and ancient tales that happen that will invite your consciousness to accept that something did happen. And that teaches you to learn to accept someone else that might be their conscious reality. It might be their walk of life. So we got to give respect to people who, so like, I don't care like people disrespect me because I'm Bonquisha. I'm going places, right? Going places. I think when I was going through my sickness in May, I was, instead of doing the whole like, oh, I'm sick, I got the Rona. The first thing I thought of was how could I genetically, how could I hack my body and how could I get over this? Because people who are not pre-existing conditions, people who don't have pre-existing conditions, you can bounce back quick. People who did have, like, I'm looking at my situation, pre-existing condition, already know about it. I did fitness for so many years. My body was tore up. So shut up, stomach. It's not time to eat yet. Shut up, y'all. I'm trying to fast till like 10 o'clock. And I'm gluten intolerant. So it's like, dang, I'm so hungry. I like to think this lockdown for me binge eating. I gained 10 pounds and then all of a sudden I have a gluten allergy. Shut up, stomach. I better eat something. Crackers with no salt. Anyways, I'll just wrap it up by saying you can go on my page, my post, and tear me apart and have your judgments, and I really do not give several dams. Shut up, my stomach doesn't either. And I will always know that if I say something, there's going to be at least a handful of people that will, it's kind of like, what do you call it? Not reject. Yeah, reject. People will reject what is said. They may not even know anything about what I'm talking about. And they're just, but that's not true. But that didn't happen. And the quote that I love, where are your facts? I want him to say it, biatch, go look it up. Go look it up. Look it up yourself. If you're so curious to how my mindset drew up this conclusion, there's a lot of information out there where you can go on your own journey, and it doesn't mean you got to believe it, but if you read the context of things that exist, at least you can acknowledge somebody's viewpoint and perspective. And I think that's where we're offset in our political battles and our religious beliefs battles. Those are the two main things people go, oh, we don't talk about those two things. Well, Aaron will talk about it because that's the problem. You can't live life disregarding one thing because your walk of life had a traumatic experience where you had to repulse. That's the word I'm looking for. You have to repulse that one thing because it did not resonate in your reality or it traumatized you. So like, I'm looking at how the things that people talk about behind closed doors. Shut up, stomach. You're interrupting my live stream. You guys hear my stomach? You look at the things that happen behind closed doors at these churches, right? We already know those stories. I taught children. I've done school programs. I do not talk about the things that I read or things that people share with me about what happened. I don't want to elaborate on. And I don't have my own children, so I know there's an emotional sensitivity where I will have a nervous breakdown because that the focus really should be on what's happening to these kids that are it's just sad. But I really hope and encourage whoever has the will to go on that avenue of dialogue to really keep it up. Like my friend Dawn, I love you. You are awesome, Dawn. She's been on it. She's like, I don't really care what people say. I don't care how many times they get fact checked. I will keep on posting this over and over and over. And that's what it's going to take a lot of resilience and rebellion on a positive level to keep revealing these things because there's something evidential and something truthful will pop out. So, and also too, I think like, if you guys follow me in terms of of that man that everyone don't like right now, and you look at how it's like a game of chess. I see how he moves over. You guys know what I'm talking about. He moves over to somebody, and every time he goes next to somebody, a lot of dirty laundry gets revealed, and then guess what? They're fired. So it's kind of fascinating. I used to do this with my friends. I used to be friends with people who I didn't like. Mm-hmm. Hey, sister. Um, People I didn't like because I want to know if they didn't like me or not. Cardi B does this too. Cardi B will, she's fine, but if you say her name, she will come for you. And what I kind of value about Cardi B, well, not now, but before, her mouth used to go and used to pop off until people silenced her. Her publicist, her manager, she tainted her career. To be honest, I think she said way too much. And for me, like, I look at myself, I'm trying to sell a product, and on social media, I'm saying too much. So I know that there's probably pushback, but I know like what I share and what I say resonates to my spiritual journey. And I know that what I'm working on is in the same category of the journey. So I think like there is something to save and there's um, something to, yeah, I don't know, people who resonate with me know that I'm a very harmless person. And they know that if I have an attitude and I'm saying something in the comments, it's really because like I'm compassionate in terms of everyone needs to get along. And some people might say, well, good luck with that because it's going to take years and years for people to get along. Well, if that's what you think, then you just manifested that in your reality. I believe that if we can just focus on acknowledging each other's feelings, thoughts, opinions, acknowledge it. Not acknowledge the hateful stuff and the negative stuff. Because I think people go, well, if I don't like this person so and so and he's a racist and this and that, I'm not going to acknowledge your anger and your repulse. So that's how the whole conspiracy thing works is like many people who do subscribe to these things that are extraordinary, they're very unbiased, very unbiased. And I think, like, I look at Fox 11 News. Well, I used to. I don't. I ripped the thing out of my TV, so I can't watch regular TV anymore. Because I was noticing how certain channels have a certain dialogue, and these dialogues on certain channels were influencing the mind and conditioning people to respond and talk a certain way. And there's a TV show called Black Box on Netflix. It has the same narrative. I was like, stomach, please. Y'all hear my stomach? Hi, Jenna. It's not that I'm hungry. It's just my stomach is like trying to. Y'all, I had this vegan dinner yesterday. It was so disgusting. It was so gross. I don't even, it was like, it wasn't even like curry. It was like imitation, fake tasting, plant based curry with yellow peppers. Not, it was just gross. Ugh. And then I layered it on top of cauliflower because I didn't want to do white rice. And I was just like, this is so gross. This is nasty. So I look at how, we talk about DNA and genetics and we criticize doctors who understand what voodoo is. But it's fascinating how people are vegetarian, vegan, keto. You do engineer your genetics. When you have, I want to be very scientific with this. When you have enzymes in foods and then you go outside into the sun, you're influencing the enzymes to regenerate your cells in your body. That is a very scientific statement. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe that that's the truth. If a plant can grow from a seed, you can even just put a leaf in the ground and it will seed itself. It will grow something eventually over. It's just strange, but it's photosynthesis, right? 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 Photosynthesis. It goes in the ground, you saturate it, the sunlight comes in. So I think like there's a lot of mysteries with the sun itself, but in terms of your diet and nutrition, I do believe that going more plant based, your enzymes replenish your cells. They regenerate your cells, your body. You feel good, you feel great. Then you have endorphin production. Then you have happy feelings, and happy feelings help your immune system. So I knew that when I was sick back in May, I knew to hijack my body by I peeled citrus, and I was sharing this yesterday with a friend, and she was rude. I love her though, but she was rude. She was like, "I'm gonna just stick to the doctors, thank you. I'm just going to," and I know how she does it because she does it in person all the time. She's cool, and then she snaps like, "No, no, I'm not gonna listen to you. What college degree do you have, dancer?" And just that's where I'm like, okay, that's fine. You over there. But I'm the one whose body, I bounced back and I was like, good on my bounce back. And then now my body says, since you did that diet, we gonna have to eliminate the gluten because, it's time to genetically modify in a healthy, positive way. So I'm listening to my body. I did this years ago with my blood pressure was going up because I was drinking a lot of alcohol. I didn't even realize, but I drink more alcohol than water. I think a lot of us did in our 20s. But my I had hypertension, my blood pressure was going up, and the doctor threatened me with kidney failure. She's like, "You're gonna have kidney failure by 40." She is trying to jinx me. That was the first doctor that I like to say I fired because we are trying to, as Leslie was sharing with me yesterday, my friend Leslie, we were trying to align. We were trying to get on the same page, and we're trying to help somebody prolong their life. And now you telling me like what's gonna happen, 20 years before, I'm like, chick, she got fired. And I reported her and she got removed because a lot of people were complaining about her. She was a doctor from India, right? And here's where like I say choose to listen to your body more than trying to find doctors to tell you what to listen to. She basically she's an HIV doctor. Let's just be forward. And she recommended a cocktail compound, this plus that. So there was three. And I was focus grouping. There were several of us who had the same doctor. And I've noticed how one person had a different medicine compound. That person still to this day is on one cocktail. And I was taken off of three and I was put on one. And guess what? My hypertension went away. Just boop, gone. So that's where I'm like, okay. But the placebo effect that I created was I should probably go vegetarian until I know for sure my hypertension was gone. Because I know fatty acids, amino acid overload, meat, red meat, and things that can carry tumor cells can put a strain on your liver and kidneys, and that can rupture your renal system, and that can cause you to have high blood pressure, diabetes, whatnot. I think that's scientific. So I did the vegetarian thing for 4 years. My body felt great. I was able to transition and go on a different medication. Everything was peachy key. Now here we are in 2020, where my body had a reset. This is where I feel awful because I don't want people to get the sense of me sharing about COVID-19 as a boasting or an ego perspective. And I'm not saying I'm the king of I got it and I feel better now. But at the same time, there's so many more people who don't have it and don't understand. And I'm looking at how the political news and media are not really elaborating on what's really happening to the people who are going through it. And I feel like there's such an important, I guess I'm trying to fight to say, hey, everybody, look over here, look, don't look at that over there. Don't pay attention to that. And on accident, it's revealing a shade of ego from my part, and it's showing a little bit of disrespect towards the topic. So I do understand how it can look from the other perspective. So I actually like to apologize if people feel like I'm forcing the dialogue and I'm putting it out too much. I could just go and focus on dance videos and post that on social media, but I just feel like there's too many more people who resonate with wanting to know answers. And there are people who are trying to select themselves to be leaders and advocates of a dialogue so that there's a balance in understanding what possibly is going on. So that is what I just want to express. But people are so quick to say, but you're a conspiracy theorist, so I don't want to believe you. And that's the perspective I want to share with everyone is that we categorize each other by personality and by reaction, and by that we choose to either pay attention more or we repulse them more or we retract acknowledging them. So that's all I really want to share and leave that at. I hope you guys are good to yourselves. Try to eat better during this lockdown. I'm a perfect example of it. It was great to put on 10 pounds. You can even see in my face. My lines are, but I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. I need like anyone out there who's, I don't even want to say vegan. I don't even want to, I was making fun of vegans years ago. I'm like, look, here goes conspiracy theorists. If you drank milk since a child, you had butter in your meals, right? You had grease and bacon. If you grew up with all that in your body, why would you tell your body, okay, we're not going to drink milk anymore. We're not going to be lactose. And then you think about your bone density over time and arthritis and vitamin D deficiency if you're a brown person. And you kind of go, why is this happening to me? Well, probably because you're not having dairy. And because you believe a theory of vegetation. I don't know. We're all screwed. That's just how I look at it. We're screwed either way. You can be great to your body and get screwed. And you can be cruel to your body and get screwed. So I think the best thing to do is to be good to yourself, mentally, emotionally. If things get out of hand, turn it off. Like for me, this week, the only thing I'm watching is concerts from musicians that I like, and I'm trying to just snap and roll and just have feel good vibes because I'm looking at topics where people are really aggressive, and my approach is kind of like, all right, it's fine. I'm going back to the Christina Aguilera concert. All right, everybody, you have a great day. Love you very much, and be kind to each other.